Hello everyone, Sharon Ann Klingler here with the Akashic Tarot for your reading for today. But before we do the reading, I am so excited to share with you something phenomenal that happened in a reading I was doing this week with the cards. I told my sister Sandra, who was also the author of these cards with me, and she said, oh my God, we have to talk about that on our radio show, which is on, of course, Hay House Radio. But I was doing a reading for a person who for a lady who had been out of work for a little bit of time, and she had been working in a very cutthroat industry, and I'm talking about like six-figure working in that industry, and it had been some months, and she was unable to get a new job, but in truth, she had been dealing with even in the last several months, and indeed last few years of her working in that industry, she had been having very difficult times with people who, as I said, since it was a cutthroat industry, people who would backstab you, people who would take jobs out from under you, people who would get close to you for information only. You know, it was a very kind of hurtful and difficult thing to be with the people with whom she worked for the last couple of years in that industry. And so we were doing her cards, and we got the treasure in her 10th house of her career. And this is before she asked me any specific questions. So if you take a look at this, just look at this card here. This is the card that appeared, the treasure, in the house of her career. Now, as you can see, this man is standing in a plundered room. Everything's been stolen, everything's been lost to him, and he's holding his head because he's looking at the emptiness and the loss. But happily, there's a tiny little treasure chest in the back here that has light streaming out from the partially open lid. And this is the inner treasure that can never be violated, never be taken away from you. And sometimes we do focus on the outer treasure. And she said, Sharon, I told her about this card. I described this card, and she said, Sharon, you know, that's exactly the way I feel. I feel as if absolutely everything's been plundered, and now I've been spending months looking for a new job in this industry. Should I change industries? Now, when somebody in a card reading, or indeed even a mediumship reading, asks a very specific question, I will go to the source, whether it be spirit or the cards, for more specific information. And I will lay them down in a line right on top of the card, the first card that had to do with that subject. And of course, I lay them down in a little bit of an overlapping fashion, because whenever someone is asking a specific questions, whether it be of the card, in the cards especially, what happens is there tends to be a causal type of relationship between one card into the next, into the next, into the next. And sometimes they're not always causal. Sometimes there's a cause for this card, but then it could be sequential. First this happens, then that happens, then that happens, then that happens. Always moving to the right, which is the future. So these are the cards that were put down to answer her question, should I keep looking for a new job in the same industry? The industry that has been, keeping her held back and dealing with negative people for years. So this is the first card out that she got in very specific response to that question. And it's the card of the Lookout. And as you can see from that card, the ship has been in a battle, and the sails are ablaze. And a man is standing in the crow's nest with his binoculars, looking to the horizons for the help that he needs to get out of this battle, out of these problems, out of this difficulty. And she said, Sharon, that's exactly what's been happening. I've been calling headhunters, I've been calling the people I know, and I can't see any help on the horizon. And I want you to notice that the direction that he's looking at, there's always relationship between one card and another, especially when there is movement between the cards and focus between the cards. He's looking this way. And what that tells us is that he's actually looking to the plundered room, or to the very people who plundered the treasure, for help. So what does that tell you? Looking in the wrong direction, this old industry, the people from this industry are not going to be there for you. You're indeed going back to the same exact people who made things difficult for you before, and indeed with whom you've had difficult and divisive relationships for maybe even years. So after the lookout card came the intricacies and industry card. Reversed. This is how it is reversed. And of course, the cards, since they overlap, which is indicative of the causal and sequential type of relationship we have here, that card reversed actually covers up part of the first word, but actually literally turns the word industry upside down. This was fantastic for me. I said, oh my flipping goodness God, these cards know what they're talking about. She literally asked the question, should I move on to a new industry or stay in this industry? And this industry card is reversed. Do not stay in the same industry. Industry is literally upside down. And so that was followed by the card of diversity. The woman who is standing upon her veranda looking at the river and the valleys below, and all the little towns that dot the valleys, and the map and scroll that's in her hand. It's time to diversify. It's time to go elsewhere. It's time to look for something new. And after that came the on-track card. And the on-track card, if you can see, is a man who's getting on a train and he's just come out of the waiting room here. And the waiting room was the card of diversity. You see how the cards connect to each other? And it is through the preparation, looking into where we can diversify, that gets this person on track. And once this person has left the old industry behind and indeed moved on off of the veranda and into the train station and discovered all the opportunities, studied, done some due diligence about where we can go and what we can do, it's now time to get on track. And the train literally runs into the Queen of Forces, turning her into an absolute powerhouse of physical, spiritual, mental, universal, elemental force and strength. The Queen of Forces is the woman who has every force at hand. And now that she's not betwixt and befuddled and plundered in an industry of negativity and a history with those people and opening to new lands and new energy, she can find the power. This is exactly how the cards came in this reading. Now, of course, it was a much longer reading, and there were the other 12 houses of the zodiac. This was the house of her career. But I wanted to show the cards how strongly they speak to you and what they can literally say. If someone says, should I stay in the same industry, and the word industry turns upside down, guess what? You don't even need to be psychic to know what that means. It's just amazing to me. And actually, she had so much relief because, of course, it's hard for us to change something we've done for 15, 20 years and move into a whole new world of career and power. But there's her power as long as she leaves that industry behind and starts to diversify. So I wanted to share that with you because it's just another way that I'm finding the cards of the Akashic Tarot are talking to me, and how you'll find they'll talk to you in quite literal ways. In quite literal ways. Okay, so now let's go on with today's reading. The cards that I pulled for everyone who is going to be watching this. And I do want to say, of course, we get individual questions and individual inquiries, and people who want to pull a card for them and that type of thing. And I'm afraid because we get so many people watching this, you know, we'd be here all day if we just pulled one card for each and every individual. This is why when I shuffled the Akashic Tarot in the morning that I'm going to do this, and I say I want the cards that are specifically for the people who will be watching and who will tune into this video, then I know that the cards are for you, and you will be able to apply them to your life. So let's take a look and see what we have here. Oh, I'm sorry, that came out this way. Okay. All right. So the first card in today's reading is the Queen of Roses. And the Queen of Roses is a wonderful card, but with it being followed by the Eight of Forces, the lightning bolt reversed, indicates that while the Queen of Roses can be a very sensitive female, can be a very helpful female, can be a very loving female, the lightning bolt reversed indicates that there's been a storminess about the cards that preceded, and then sometimes also that follow it. And so don't be surprised, and if this has happened to you lately, I know I can't tell you in my readings the number of people who've said, gosh, is something going on astrologically? People are just, you know, it's like yelling and screaming at each other and being thunderous and all of that. And I have to say, I've noticed it too in the workaday world. But here's the Queen of Forces, a woman in your life, a woman whom you may have thought was on your side or is a good friend, or whom you might even have. This could be a lover's relationship. It could even be a work relationship or a coworker. But with the lightning bolt following, there's been some storminess with her, or at the very least, disappointment. She perhaps didn't do something that she said she would do, or didn't behave in a way that was in some way loyal to you, didn't support you. And so with the lightning bolt reversed, it indicates, yes, that there's been some storm here. But I'm very happy that the card came up reversed, because when the card's reversed, it means even though the storm is here, the storm can end very quickly. And not only can it end very quickly, you know, lightning comes from the skies and hits us in the earth. But if you see the card upside down, it's like the energy of lightning, the force of electrical power from the deepest part of your soul, the breadths and depths of however you are and whoever you are eternally come up from deep inside you and renew your connection to your power in spite of storminess around you. I love this card, and indeed I'm getting goosebumps as I'm talking about it, because you know what, when we meditate, sometimes when I meditate, and when we meditate, you might want to do this too, sometimes I'll take a look at that card reversed and I'll feel lightning coming up from the center of the earth. And the God within all things, that's why the Akashic Tarot is the Akashic Tarot. The Akashic Tarot is the mind and the energy that is in all things, including the earth, and all the way to the God, the God of your understanding. So I will meditate and feel the electricity of the lightning bolt coming up and moving through me and making me feel powerful and letting me tap into the electrical energy that is my divine self. But here's a good thing about this card reversed too. When the card is upright, lightning does a lot of damage, but when the card is reversed, it actually indicates that that force is for us from the very center of the universe. And when we tap that kind of power, guess what? We don't have to have a thing, a problem, an issue, a yell fest with the Queen of Roses. We can stand in our power and we can take a step back and say, oh, isn't that funny? Or indeed, isn't that sad that she needed to feel that she needed to go in that way? God bless her. I know where my power comes from. And then right after that card, as soon as you start to feel your power, you start to attract and magnetize the power beings around you. And there, bingo, is the Archangel Michael. The Archangel Michael, while some see him as an archangel of protection, I do not use that word. When we have this kind of force, when we have God energy flowing through us, guess what? God doesn't need protecting. But the Archangel Michael is the patron archangel of power, self-actualization, courage, initiative. And his allegiance and alliance with you after this event doesn't say, oh, get your swords out. You will see lots of cards where Michael's having a sword. Our card shows him as his power is of the heart, and his gentle power is caring for these children. It is a gentle power that is our strongest power, the Buddha power, the Christ power, the Bodhisattva power, the power of love. And we can align ourselves with Michael in having a new understanding of our strength and moving forward in our own projects. And if the Queen of Roses wants to come with and do it in a way that is supportive and beneficial, that's fine. And if not, guess what? That's fine. Because we are in touch with the God that sources all power, all light, all lightning in our lives. And the Archangel Michael is here to align ourselves with the others in spirit who work with us, who are co-creators on our projects and our purposes. This is a wonderful energy in spite of the fact that we might have been having difficulties with various people in our lives. And I hope you can understand what this reading means to you. If you don't know it, maybe you might have some experience of it, or your friend might say, I had such a problem with a coworker. Share this with them. There are no accidents that you have seen this reading, both for yourself and perhaps for other people around you. So that's our reading for today, and our wonderful message and indication of what the cards can tell you in very specific ways. And I'd like you to join us next Thursday for another reading. In the meantime, you can order the Akashic Tarot on Amazon. You can pre-order it. It's not in yet. This is one of the very few advanced decks that have come to us. And but it will be out on November 22nd. And I support you in taking a look at it, giving it a try. And even if you just pull, even if you're not a tarot reader, you can pull one card for yourself every day and get a little reading and tap in. The book has the Akashic force of each card, a little mini process for you to tap into that lightning bolt of power, the energy of courage and strength with the Archangel Michael, and all the other Akashic forces that go with the cards. So God bless you, everyone. I appreciate you joining us here today, and I invite you to share this with your friends, and you have a wonderful, wonderful, and blessed day. God bless you.